Also this evening, we're joined right now by Dave DeLeo. He's a professor of political science with the department, director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Aaron. It's nice to talk to you again.
I know we keep missing each other as of late when it comes to these elections, but I have a couple of questions for you this evening. They're saying that we might not know the actual results for everything because of the amount of absentee ballots until tomorrow. When you look at the election numbers overall, can they determine from in-person voting, even though we have all these absentees, who could be the projected winner?
I think that's problematic these days because in the last couple cycles we've seen supporters of the different parties gravitate to one method of voting over the other. Absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, early voting, much more democratic than election day voting, which is predominantly Republican. So I think drawing conclusions from either absentee votes that are counted or only election day votes that are counted is problematic.
Now, I'm reading a lot of things that there were high voter turnout at universities, which means a lot of young people are heading to the polls for the midterm elections, more so than we've probably seen in a long time. How much could those young votes play into the outcome of the midterm elections?
Well, every person's vote counts the same, right? But the issue is, or the question is, how many more young people, say 18 to 24-year-olds, voted than were expected, than were part of a candidate's, say, vote goal, right? I'm thinking of the 7th Congressional District, which includes Michigan State's campus. I'm thinking that the Slotkin campaign is delighted to see the long lines and surge in turnout on MSU's campus. And the Barrett campaign, Slotkin's opponent there, may be a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. If you're just joining me on WWJ, Dave DeLeo, professor of political science department and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, joining us on this election night. You mentioned Alyssa Slotkin. She won her race, and we're talking about the youth. I feel like she was one of those opponents that could appeal to young voters more so than her opponent.
Most definitely. I think, and she's tried to do that for her entire time in Congress. She has, even in her old district, under the old map, she had Michigan State's campus in there. She also had Oakland University's campus in part of that district. So it was a main focus for her throughout her time in the House.
As far as Prop 3 is concerned, I found this rather interesting. I haven't had anybody do anything exit poll related for years and years when it comes to elections. And today, I must have had 6 or 7 text messages from pollsters in regards to Prop 3. And I found that rather interesting because the last election, I didn't have any of that. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
Campaign professionals are getting better and better at finding and identifying potential supporters, or potential folks that they want to make sure get out and vote. So it's the continual evolution of electioneering, where the campaign professionals, as I mentioned, are just getting really good at micro targeting individual voters with specific messages.
And before I let you go and check the roads, what are some of the things that you're really paying attention to as far as the midterms in our state? Like any, I mean, there's been quite a few races that have been, had a lot of media coverage, a lot of impact. What are some of the things you're paying attention to tonight, Dave?
Sure. Maybe I'll go a little bit off the board here and say folks can keep an eye on a couple of state Senate districts in Macomb County. They are likely to impact and really have partisan control. So Democrats in control of the state Senate or Republicans in control of the state Senate. Based on those two outcomes in the 10th and 12th state Senate districts, heavily Macomb County, but they both dip into Wayne County a little bit and have been hotly contested for the last couple of weeks, with tons of money being spent And I think that that those will be two to watch here as results continue to roll in.
That's definitely something I'm paying attention to, not to mention the fact that Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel is being challenged as well, and that it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out because he's a Democrat in a very conservative county, per se. Dave, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I really appreciate your time this evening.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
All right. Dave Dulio, professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, joining us live on WWJ.